Films cassettes. Gosh, I miss those times, man.
Well lads, it's finally here, the Israeli Air Force, and we start today with the Kfir C.7. This is currently the top fighter available for the Israeli tech tree. In real life, this plane was based on the Mirage 5, but due to the French placing an arms embargo on them, Israel had to domestically produce this aircraft. Due to the Israelis losing the French backing, they turned to the Americans, and as a result, this plane features an American engine, as well as mainly American missiles. The Kfir was used extensively, and was only replaced by the F-15E, and it still flies today in its fighter bomber role. But enough about real life, what about in game? Well, as I said, this is the top fighter in the Israeli tech tree, sitting at battle rating 11.3 in the 7th rank of the tech tree. To unlock this jet, you'll have to grind out 390,000 research points before unlocking it for 1,060,000 silver lions. Being a tech tree vehicle, you will have to pay quite a heavy crew cross training, 300,000 silver lions. Also, being a delta wing turn type of jet, I'd highly recommend getting the expert in ace qualifications, costing 1,060,000 silver lions and 3,000 golden eagles respectively. In terms of the repair cost, when fully upgraded and playing realistic battles, it'll set you back 7,132 silver lions. In terms of rewards, and when playing realistic battles with a premium account, you can expect an RP modifier of 476% and a silver line modifier of 345%. In terms of customization, there are no camouflages currently available, apart from the stock one, which is a little bit disappointing. So that's it for the introduction lads. Is it worth grinding out this plane? Well, stick around for the rest of the video to find out. Alright, due to the French putting an arms embargo on the Israelis, when they were building the Kfir, they had to turn the Americans for the engine. This resulted in the plane getting a General Electric J79 engine. This produced 5,260 kg of thrust when at military power, and when afterburning, that increased to 8,840 kg of thrust. I'm not gonna lie, this engine is insanely powerful. It gives the plane a rate of climb of 224.6 meters per second, and while there are other planes with similar stat cards, I can tell you that there is no other plane in War Thunder that climbs as well as the Kfir. This thing is like a bloody rocket, so don't really trust the stat card, as the performance is much better than what the stat card would say. We then come on to the top speed. At an altitude of 11,000 meters, the plane can achieve a top speed of 2,389 km per hour. During my testing, I found that this plane will rip its wings at a top speed of 1,470 km per hour, or Mach 1.22. This plane is incredibly fast, both at high altitude and low altitude, but due to the Kfir being based on the Mirage 5, a plane optimised for ground attack, I definitely say that you should stay at the lower altitudes in this plane. Not only does your engine perform better, but as we'll cover in the weapons section, you don't really have the missiles for high altitude interception. The turn rate is pretty good on the Kfir, while the stat card says you have a turn time of 27 seconds, which according to the stat cards would make it less capable at turning than the F4E Phantom. Needless to say, you shouldn't pay any attention to this. The Kfir is a very good turner, with one slight caveat. Due to the delta wing design of the Kfir, it performs very well in high angle engagements when at higher speeds, but when at lower speeds, the delta wing design does cause a lot of drag. This gives it a similar flight performance to the P-51 Mustang. It's got very good performance when you've got energy, but when you lose it, it's kind of like a brick. Luckily, however, the massive engine does mean you can recover from slow speed engagements very quickly. There's another reason not to get slow in the Kfir, and that's the poor low speed responsiveness. When you get slow in this jet, the plane just doesn't really want to point its nose. The rudder kind of lags out, ironically making one of the best manoeuvrable jets in the game quite bad for actual dogfighting, as it's very hard to get your nose onto a target when you want to. This makes stall fighting quite hard, as well as deflection shots. But overall, the performance of the Kfir is excellent. It is by far one of the best performing jets currently in the game, at least in terms of its engine performance. While the only real downside of this jet's performance is the low rip speed and the poor slow speed responsiveness, it's mainly let down by its weaponry. Right, first things first, the Kfir has the Serrano IBIS radar system. This has Identify Friend or Foe or IFF, as well as BVR or Beyond Visual Range radar systems. This does not have the Pulse Doppler or Look Down Fire mode capability, although this plane does not carry any semi-active radar homing missiles, so it's kind of a moot point. This radar system isn't really useful in air realistic battles, but it may be of some use to sim players. Next, if we check the pilot, you can see that we do have a CCIP, or Constantly Calculated Impact Point, for the cannons, rockets and bombs, as well as an RWR, or Radar Warning Receiver. Your stock weapons on the Kfir are the 30mm Defa cannons. You carry 125 rounds in total, and have a fire rate of 1,200 rounds per minute. You can carry several ammunition belts, an air target belt with high explosive fragmentation with 4mm of penetration, or ground target belts with 47mm of penetration, the latter of which is pretty useful for ground realistic battles. We also have several other weapon systems able to be carried by the Kfir. First up, we have the 20mm M61 miniguns. You can carry 2 of these guns in total, one under either wing. They're pretty powerful, but you sacrifice the ability to carry 2 extra missiles. I personally prefer the 4 air-to-air missiles, but we'll cover those later. We then have a selection of dumb bombs. You can carry a total of 16 500-pound bombs, a total of 10 of 750-pound bombs, 9 1,000-pound bombs, or 2 2,000-pound bombs. Of these bombs, I take the 750-pounders for general ground attacking ground realistic battles, but the choice is yours. We can also carry a selection of dumbfire rockets. We can carry the good old fashioned Mighty Mouse. These travel pretty fast and have a decent amount of penetration, but they have quite a low amount of explosive filler in their warheads, giving them pretty bad post penetration damage. We then also have the Zunis. These have high penetration with 457mm and also have a larger explosive filler, giving them better post penetration damage. But these rockets are much larger than the Mighty Mouse, meaning you can only carry a total of 24 of them, compared to the 114 of the Mighty Mouse. Whether carrying rockets or bombs, you can also carry air-to-air missiles alongside them, of which you have 3. When you unlock the plane's stock, you will be able to take out the Shafrir missile. The Shafrir is basically an AIM-9B clone, with 10 Gs of maximum overload and 4 Gs of launch overload. These are infrared guided of course, and only have a rear aspect lock. They have a large explosive TNT filler of 7.62 kilos, but unfortunately they do have a cage seeker, and at battle rate 11.3 they're pretty much useless. But you can carry other air-to-air missiles. Up first we have the AIM-9D. This is the US Navy version of the Sidewinder. It has 18 Gs of maximum overload and a rear aspect lock range of 5.5 kilometers. The Navy versions of the Sidewinders are pretty much well noted for their long range potential, especially compared to the American Army version of the Sidewinder. This gives them a theoretical lock range and fire range of 18 kilometers. This is greatly exaggerated on the stat card, but you can target and kill players at least 4 kilometers away. We then come on to the final missile, the AIM-9G. This is the US Navy's upgrade to the AIM-9D. It has the same rear aspect lock range of 5.5 kilometers and the same 18 Gs of overload. The improvements that were done were mainly to the Seeker head. The AIM-9D Seeker was improved over the B, and the G is much improved over the D. This allows you to lock a target with the IR Seeker, and then effectively lead the missile by turning the aircraft in the direction it's going to be. The AIM-9Gs are very good in their long range performance, but aren't as manoeuvrable as the US Army's AIM-9Js. And that's it for the weapons of the Kfir. In my opinion, the missiles are pretty weak, especially for battle rating 11.3. While the AIM-9Gs are very good, you can only carry 4 of them, and they perform very poorly against flares. While most of the other jets are battle rating 11.3, are flying around with Fox 1 or semi-active radar homing missiles, the Kfir just can't carry any of that type of missile, making it very weak when it's at altitude, as F4E Phantoms can just lock you and then fire a Sparrow at you, and there's very little you can do to counter it. I would assume in the future that this plane will get better missiles, so keep an eye out in their Gaijin changelogs. Before we get into the conclusion, let me know down below what you guys think about the Kfir, and which tank, plane, ship or helicopter you guys would like to see reviewed next. In my opinion, the Kfir has a very high skill ceiling. It's an incredibly powerful plane, but it's let down by its missiles. While it does have the performance to outcompete pretty much every other jet in the game, you just can't really put that performance to use. It has no semi-active radar homing missiles, as well as pretty average performing air-to-air missiles in general. It's kind of like being 6'4" with a massive six-pack, but being kind of autistic and not being able to speak to women. You've got everything, but you can't get it there. The plane has performance, but you just can't get the job done with the missiles basically. Compared to the Kfir, the F4E isn't as good in terms of performance, but it has the decent missiles as well as the great semi-active radar homing missiles. The MiG-23 MLD also has pretty good performance, but it isn't as good as the Kfir. But it carries more, and more importantly, more flexible missiles, making it easier to play for the average player. And seeing as I am an average player, I have kind of struggled in this jet. As I mentioned in the performance section, when at slow speeds, the plane does feel unresponsive. making it very hard to stall fight in a 1-on-1. So even though you have all of this performance, you can't really climb up high because you don't have semi-active radar homing missiles. You can't get into dogfights because that's not really the meta anymore. Plus, you can't really handle stall maneuvers that well. So you're kind of just outside of the meta in this jet. It has performance, but you can't carry. You're kind of going to be like General Sam. You're going to be the Rat of War Thunder. In many ways, it's the top tier's equivalent of the F-104. It's fast, powerful, but struggles to put that power to work. Alright lads, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, please do consider subscribing to the channel. You can also leave a like and a comment, which again, also boosts me in the algorithm, helping my channel to grow. You can also follow me on Twitter, as well as Twitch. And if you're a huge fan of the channel, you can become a member of the YouTube channel, which will give you a unique icon next to your comment, in both comments under videos and on YouTube live streams. Once again, thank you very much for watching this far into the video lads, and I'll see you in the next one.